videotaping. Now, one of the things that I dislike more than almost anything is being videotaped or having my picture taken. So it's very interesting that the person I married always has a camera glued to his face. So maybe it's true. What you focus on, you eventually attract into. So the first thing that I want to begin our presentation, you'll see we'll go through different PowerPoints, and that one will be the background as I'm covering other points. But the first and most important thing is what Mr. Kim just emphasized to you. Why did Richway come up with this program? Anybody know? Did you hear what Kelvin just said? What would be one of the key reasons why we've come up with this program for all of you? Success. And what's going on with the economy? So you don't want, no, turn it, wait, you don't need it quite that dark, please. Okay. So, what's going on with the economy, and how do each of us learn to focus on what we want while we're also aware of what's going on around us? So the economy is not improving. Kelvin just emphasized to you that there's more information all the time, that people graduating with MBAs are not able to find jobs. So network marketing is one of the most significant ways for you to have financial freedom. And Richway created this program for you to have an assurance of, I think it's shining in my eye, for you to have an assurance of ongoing residual income for 2.5 to 3 years. Now, let's hear another round of applause for Mr. Kim for creating this program. Kelvin, I'll give you a little background. I was introduced to the Biomat company 3 years ago, and I found the Biomat by having a demo in Hawaii, went online and typed in Biomat, didn't know the name of the company, and I found Carrie Luke, and I said I want to buy a Biomat, and she said, well, I'm a distributor. I said, well, then I'll just call Honolulu and buy it from them. And she said, well, you usually have to buy from a distributor. Well, I made the decision after about 3 weeks to buy from Carrie, and the reason I selected her was because I had a large circle of influence of other people who would want to buy biomats, Connie being one of them, and people who would also want to do this as a business. And I wanted someone who would be committed to me and my team. So Carrie made that commitment. She said, yes, I'll help train. And then the miracle synchronicity was Carrie introduced me to Mr. and Mrs. Kim in Honolulu. I was living in Maui. Now, any of you who have for years set goals or intentions of what you would like to have manifest, give me a show of hands. How many of you are familiar with the law of attraction or setting intentions or the power of wishing? Okay, so almost everybody by now. How many of you have had consistent success in setting intentions and having them manifest? Okay, a large number of you. So one of my wishes and intentions was that I would have enough residual income to live in Maui. And around 2003, a few people who were extremely bright recommended that I sell whatever real estate I had and put all my money into gold. That was in 2003. I can't tell you how thrilled I was for that good advice, for people who were close to genius level who knew what was happening. Now, when I met the Kims at Richway, I was close to retired. I wasn't working. I found the biomat. I wasn't going to sell it except occasionally. I wasn't even going to go back to work. But there was a spark of love that I felt in that office. Remember what Kelvin said earlier about the mother's hand? When I walked into that office, I felt that spark of love from everyone in the Richway office, from Gail and Carrie to Kelvin and Gina, and thought, okay, this is where I am, and I'm here to be channeling and giving all of that love back to you. So I come out of retirement after I've taught on and off for many years. And what I'd like to do today is cover a few key points. We'll go through the PowerPoint, but the first thing that I'd like to do is emphasize to you that we are all here with the Richway Water Rental Program to nurture your entrepreneurial seed. Within each of you, there's a seed that we have to grow so that you achieve the goals that are most meaningful to you. And how does that happen? Well, we have a role and a responsibility, and so do you. So the first responsibility for you is to have a bit of a reality check. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur and to be in network marketing? Well, many people think it's like learning to play golf. You know, you go, you buy your clubs, you go to this first course, you learn all the rules, every time it's the same. You set up, you get up there, you tee off, and you just get better and better. Victor was pointing out some important qualities, ability, so you're developing ability. However, in network marketing and entrepreneuring, it's really more like playing polo. It's not like golf. You're on the horse, everything's changing, the economy's changing, there's stuff flying up in the air, and there's always someone trying to knock you off your horse. Okay? So you want to remember that ability is important, creativity is important, mentoring, training, all of these things are important. And we're going to do some things together today. We're going to set some goals and intentions. So I'm going to ask all of you to join me, first of all, in considering, how many of you, show me by hands, own a biomat? Okay, so that's everybody just about in the room, and you use it, and you've been getting benefit from it. Now, how many here own the water machine? Okay, a good show. How many water machines have you sold from, say, 1 to 5? Raise your hands if you've sold 1 to 5. Okay, have you sold more than 10? Okay, so what that tells us, we have a responsibility to you to help you understand how these two products work synergistically and why each client would benefit and get greater benefits by owning both. And Victor's going to cover with us later how it has become affordable, how easy you can make this, because I had a new distributor about a year ago who was a healer, and when I introduced the products, what he said is, well, one without the other doesn't make sense to me. He said, you need both. I said, I agree. He said, well, then I'm only going to sell both. If they don't want to buy both, I don't want them as a client. I said, well, that's your decision. So he got to Diamond in a very short time, and he made about 15 orders, and everyone who ordered bought a biomat and a water. Now that happened because his attitude was the two together are more powerful. So any of us who started only with a biomat, we have a little catch-up to do. So the first thing I'm going to ask all of you to do, consider if you've ever used visualization. Raise your hands if you've used visualization to get something you wanted. Yes? Okay. So one of my visions is that there will be a biomat on every bed, and a water unit, and every sink. Everywhere. And so close your eyes for just a few seconds and visualize one customer and see that person having the biomat on their bed and the water unit in their kitchen. And generate as much good energy and relaxation around that process. So if you currently have any tension or worry of, oh my God, how is that going to happen? What will they think? They're going to think I'm, like a used car salesman, and now, I not only want to sell the biomat, but I want to sell the water thing. I might as well move in with them and just take over. They might as well listen to me rather than anyone else. Whatever your worries or doubts, just put them now into a big snowball. Let's everybody take whatever concerns and worries you have and pack that snowball really hard. So take your hands, come on, let's make a snowball with all your concerns and pack it up. Put every worry, concern, fear, what people will think about you, why they won't buy, what will happen, what are your responsibilities. So now you've got that hard, cold snowball. And I want you to lift it up, close your eyes, and throw it into that stream of love, and wipe your hands. It's done. It's gone. All that is gone. Now if you want, you can go pick it up again. It's probably out there somewhere. You can find your own worries and fears, or there's plenty from other people if you want to find them and keep bringing them back into your life. Visualization has been used effectively for easily 50 or 60 years. Some of you who've been in this field for that long remember some of the early studies on basketball players that were documented that if they took professional basketball players and they did free throws into baskets, they would have one group shooting, just practice. One group visualizing themselves getting the shot and practice, and the third group only visualizing. Do you know which group was the most successful? No? The one that did both? Both. So I want you to remember this. The key to success is a balance of effort and grace. Yes, it's very effective to visualize, but you have to make an effort as well. So they practiced, that was the result. The people who did both got better results than those who just practiced and just visualized. So it's okay to just visualize. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to stop you if you're daydreaming and using visualize all you wish. But your goal here is to create a balance of effort and grace. And in Rich Way, one of the key things, I'm going to kind of involve you now, what is one of the key things that you've heard from your upline and Rich Way, and if you've been on the webinars, how do we conduct this business? How is it supposed to go? Anybody? You're supposed to quit your job and make yourself a nervous wreck and you go borrow a bunch of money and stock up product? No. Okay, so no stress, fit into your current lifestyle, take one step at a time, continue to make effort as you grow. So if you're stalled, you want to take a look and say, well, what could I add more of? There was a beautiful presentation last evening for those of you who were here. How many of you heard the presentation about diamond in a day? Okay, so the majority of you. And do you remember what was said when she asked all of you, and she asked herself, why did they say yes to me? Do you remember that? She asked herself. That's a very good question to ask. Why did they say yes to me? Does anybody remember her answer? Why did they say yes? Credibility. So she had enough awareness to know. And I'm going to add something to that. When people buy from us, there's two main reasons. Credibility and likability. Okay, those are the two key reasons, especially in network marketing, because this is a personal business. So if you want to increase your rental business, remember the two factors people are going to be looking for from you are credibility and likability. And as Kelvin pointed out, in your very traditional medical field, we have a lot of proof, although we might sometimes become rigid. And the alternative, we're more visionary, we're more out of the box, but a lot of times our results are not able to be duplicated. You're wanting to find the balance, and you're looking for people who are visionary, who want to try something new, and want to do business with you. So we're going to do a little bit of goal setting before we look at the PowerPoint. And that brings me to an important question. To goal or not to goal? Which is the answer? How many of you enjoy setting goals? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you find, oh, I don't like doing this because then it won't happen and then I'll be so stressed and it makes me more nervous. How many of you are resistant to goal setting? Okay, so we have both. So either way, we have to find a way that works for you. And we're going to play with a few words. So if I say to you, focus on what you want, does that sound more masculine and hard or more feminine? Feminine. Focus sounds feminine to me. Okay, focus sounds more masculine to me, but that's interesting. If I were looking for a feminine phrase, I'd say muse. I think I'll just daydream on this. I think I'll just sit around and I'll daydream about all my sales. That feels very feminine to me. If I say I'm going to focus on something, that feels more masculine to me. And I'm always looking and setting goals for the balance. If I'm feeling that I'm making too much effort, pushing, and I'm tiring myself out, and who would even want to be around me, because I'm not very likable, because I become too difficult, then soften. If you're so soft, that you're not going anywhere. There's no lift, you're not flying, you're not like an eagle, you're not like a fish, you're not like any moving animal, then it's time to put more focus and more energy. So you're constantly looking for that balance. Is that clear? So I'm going to now ask for a little bit more audience participation. When you're at a seminar like this, what I'm looking for is to see what you've already heard so far that relates to what we're doing now, the water, that you can and will use when you leave. So anybody, what have you heard so far while you're here that you can and will put into practice when you go home? Balancing.
And synergistically, the water and the biomass synergistically making, enhancing each.
So you've had an idea. So now how can you take that and put it into practice? What ideas and insights have you had that you can then say, in training, remember I've been involved in training for about 40 years. So when you're being scored on training, which we're certainly not here, and you design a training program, one of the things that you're supposed to do at the end of your training, at each segment actually, is to get your participants to write down, what did you learn that you can and will use tomorrow? What did you learn that you can and will use tomorrow? So you'll see when we do the binary. So does anybody have an idea from anything that happened last night of anything you can and will use when you get home?
Fireman. My son is a fireman.
Okay. All right.
Getting into the fire station.
Okay.
Love that idea.
So you have something that you can and will do. That's not just that you can do. There's a lot of things we can do but we don't desire. Anybody heard about the conference call? Okay. Is there anyone in here who would like to do a conference call on the water rental? Okay. So I'm making a commitment to you. If you want to do a conference call on the water and you get together 15 people, I will come on your conference call. I will then give your participants the PowerPoint presentation, and I'll do that for you. Okay, so anyone who wants to do that, we have to take action that's in line with what we want to do. So now I'm going to ask you whether you set goals or not. Is there anybody willing to set a goal of how many water units you would like to see your customers have? How many water rental contracts? We know what that is, right? The contract. You've probably all seen it. How many would like to sell at least 10 in November? Okay, at least 10. Okay, put that down on your piece of paper. Write it down. And let's write something down. Write your name. I, Ellen Laura, or I, Paul Hugel, commit today in Orlando to myself to bring this incredible product to 10 people in November. And then just tuck it away somewhere. Okay, that's 10. How many of you would like to do 20 in November? Okay, all right, we've got three very ambitious people. Okay, and then if you want to stretch yourself, how about setting a goal for all of 2010? How many would you like to do? Ha. Ha. Okay, so how many of you are diamonds? Raise your hand. Okay, and you realize that as a diamond, you get $20 for each contract you sell. So if you sold 100, within 6 months, what would your check be? What kind of check would you get from Richway? $2,000. And you'd get it for 2.5 or 3 years. So again, I want to hug Calvin because he came up with this idea for you. When Calvin introduced this idea and asked me to be a part of the water rental, he said, Ellen, I'm concerned about the economy. I'm concerned about our distributors. We have to find a way to help them. We have to find a way for them to get residual income. And everyone at Richway, Victor is one of the greatest new assets. So let's all give another round of applause. Richway is bringing new people on to support this new water program. So it's going to take a bit of education, but even more than education, it takes desire. How many of you have read stories about women that lift a car off of a baby? We all read that? Okay, so do you think that came from their belief or from their desire? Desire. Desire will always outweigh belief. So when you've got both working for you, when you have a powerful desire fueling you forward, you will always go farther than if you just have to rely on going to a seminar and changing your beliefs and getting rid of all beliefs and old habits. That is effective. However, increasing your desire is always more effective. So that's what our goal is with each of you. I want to hear now from you, what could we do as part of your team to help you increase your desire to be more effective with the water? And
Laura,
speak up.
I've been thinking about ionized water, and we have an Alkal-Life. And I don't know, I mean, I guess it's just, you know, I'm so committed to prevention and healthcare reform,
Yes.
really, that somehow I bought this book. I think that when I was studying macrobiotics, it's called The Miraculous Properties of Ionized Water.
Yes.
And if you can read this book and not buy an Alkal-Life, there's something wrong.
Yes, and now it's up to
It's
you. Yes.
phenomenal, and plus it really talks about being healthy, so it's a support to anybody who's in prevention.
Yes.
This man has written clearly and passionately, and all I can think of is...
May I have it up here? The book that I've been reading more is Reverse Aging. Any of you read that? Reverse Aging?
But this makes you just want to buy an Alkal-Life.
And here's Reverse Aging. So it's a combination of education and passion. So I remember years ago, as I said, I've been doing training for a lot of years. And one of my mentors, and this comes from many of your better inspirational teachers. If you have a big enough why, the how will show up. Does everybody understand what that means? Okay, so how did the mother lift the car off the child? The why. Saving the child's life is so huge that the how, which is supernatural strength, came across. So when you're sitting there and you're saying, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Remember, let's increase the why first. Carrie, I have a little story about your why, if it's okay that I tell it. Now, any of you who've seen Carrie today, and whether it's for the first time, may find this hard to believe, but about 2 years ago, Carrie was carrying a little bit of extra weight. How much, Carrie? Maybe 10, 20 pounds. So she came to Hawaii with her little extra 20 pounds. She still looked adorable. And she said, oh, it's so hard to get rid of this extra weight, and I travel so much, and I don't have any time to exercise. And I remember I've done counseling on wellness and weight and goals forever, so I'm listening and having to be patient. I'm thinking, she doesn't have a big enough why. You know, that's always the answer. There's not a big enough why. The how is clearly there, especially with weight loss. Okay? The how is there. The why is usually what's missing. So she asked me if I'd do a little bit of coaching, and we did a little emailing back and forth, and the emails were often having, you know, typical of why we don't reach our goals, excuses. Well, I didn't have time because of this, and I didn't have time because of that, and I went traveling, and all I had was macaroni and cheese, and I really just couldn't find anything. So if you've coached or counseled people, you know you're used to the excuses. However, what's important for yourself and the people you're training and mentoring is that you never invalidate or push someone to a goal before they're ready. You really find out, are you really ready for this goal? And is this really that important to you right now? Maybe a better goal for you is increase your rich way business, something that you have more desire and passion for. So instead of pushing so hard towards something that you're just not ready for, well then I don't remember how much longer it was after that. Carrie called and she told me that she'd lost weight. Now at the same time, Carrie had a new love in her life. And any of you who've met Emery, I said, oh, so a big enough why came into your life. And when that big why came along, the weight became more of a priority, the desire for it to come. The balance between effort and grace was more natural, so she was able to take action on the goal. And I'd like you to remember this when you're working with your people that you're training. If they're not getting to their goals, they usually don't have a big enough why, and you have to help them find some way to either increase the why for that goal or find a better goal. So you can never push someone. You have to keep encouraging them to go forward without letting them go. So each of you who've come here today, I feel there's a special purpose for our being together. There's a greater community and flow of love. So I've made a commitment that I will individually help you, coach you, I will mentor you, and I'll give you conference calls. And I want to go over a little bit of what we've been creating, because I've just shared with you my view of goals. Set them, don't set them, use on them, focus on them, think about them, find the balance. The how is related to a tool like a PowerPoint presentation. How do you achieve your goals? Well, you have tools. You have a DVD that will be coming by January. You'll have new brochures. You have training. You have conference calls. Everything we're going to be providing for you is part of how you achieve it. Okay? But if you find yourself saying, oh, I don't know how, please just back up, relax, and think, is my why big enough? So when you have tools, did any of you ever hear the famous quote by Abraham Maslow? If the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem is a nail. Okay, so if you only have one tool, it's harder for you to achieve your goals. Now that you have several tools, this provides some excerpts from a PowerPoint that I created for all of you for Ridgeway, and it's actually almost 50 pages. We've cut it quite down here, and I'm going to go over some of it. Now, do all of you know that we have webinars at richwaytraining.com?
Yes.
Okay, so you all know that, and you've been giving me feedback that you enjoy that. So if you go to richwaytraining.com, you go to the library. This document is there for you. And it's not only there for you, but there's a recording talking you through it. At some point in the future, we'll probably have this with music and so on. So it's a tool that you can sit with a client. If you like that, it's available to you. And now we're going to focus a little bit more on the water. Now, I'll ask Victor when to click it. So, based on the new books that we've been looking at, you are aware that it's because of advanced technology and the forces of nature combined. That's what created the biomat. That's also what has created the ionized water machine. So these two powerful forces, you're already familiar with talking about that? You're already familiar with discussing the biomat and nature and science coming together? Well, guess what? Same thing for your water machine. It's the power of nature and advanced technology that's allowing this to come into everyone's life. So Victor, you can move on. Now Victor helped me understand that while we were going through this, you were going to be trying to read this instead of listen to me. So that's okay. If you want to try and read that instead of listen to me, that's okay. You're going to have the ability to listen to all of it later. So, you like the graphic?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's give a little bit of heart love to a young woman in Texas. Her name is Daniela Matutis. Daniela did all the artwork. She'll also be designing new brochures for us. And Daniela is a woman I met in '97. She helped for a company that I was hired to write a sales training manual, and she did all the illustrations. And when I met her, she was 23. And she said, you know, I like this job, but it's so restrictive. And I told her then, I said, you are so exceptionally talented, you will go very far. That was in '97. She still on and off does work for me. And she reminds me how important it was that someone believed in her. She didn't see her potential. So I want to ask all of you, now that we've given something back to Daniela, who most appreciates and sees your potential? Raise your hands, and if you want to share it out loud, I'd like to hear. Who in your life most appreciates and sees your potential?
Gail Susie.
Gail Susie. Okay, there you go. All right. Anyone else? Go ahead, stand up. Who?
My daughter.
Your daughter. Okay, who else?
My husband.
Your husband. Your wife. Okay. Victoria, okay, great. Who else?
My mom.
Your mom. This is a very healthy thing to focus on. Who most supports you? So think about that for just a bit. Who's giving you the most support in your life to reach your goals? And believe in you. Now, everyone here who's a part of the Rich Way team believes in you and wants to offer support to you. So we're asking you, will you accept it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's hear that a little louder. How many of you are willing to accept some help and support from Ridgeway?
Yes.
Okay. That lets me know that you're more committed to that. So when you're talking about water, you can explain that there was a time long ago when water was pure, but that time is past. Research now indicates that most of us are suffering from a body that's overly acidic, and our resistance to disease has gone down because of that. And if you read more about alkaline water and the benefits, you will be amazed. So Victor, let's go to the next slide. What is Alkal-Life water? It's the purest and healthiest water for the human body. It tastes better, it's mineral rich, it contains active hydrogen, and it's purged of free radicals. So how many of you have been drinking the water and had that experience? So tell me about it. Let's hear from some of you. What are some of the benefits you've discovered drinking the water?
And I'm good about it because I want this to my office. My skin looks better.
Skin looks better.
A lot of people actually did notice the pigmentation and stuff.
Pigmentation, for some people the age spots start to go away. Okay? So there are many benefits. Go ahead.
Actually, what excited me is I found out that in 1933, the year I was born, an MD actually wrote a book that the major cause of disease was an acidic body.
Yes.
The root cause of all disease is hyperacidity.
Yes.
And I mean, that really woke me up and passionately has been drinking alkaline water, because if acidity is the root cause of disease, then remove the root cause.
Yes, remove it. Now, what about these things on the table? What do you think these are doing?
Oh, Elsa.
So what it's doing is it's creating an environment in your body.
You're not.
I'm not on?
No.
It's off? Okay. See, we started talking about candy and the energy went out.
Very thanks.
Battery?
Maybe some better.
Okay.
What do you do? I have a question.
So, very few of us are going to totally give up all kinds of candy, foods that produce acid. Back in the 70s, when I was more of a health food fanatic, I lived and worked in Bonita Springs, Florida at a health resort called Shangri-La. I taught yoga there and did all raw foods for several years. And I was very strict. And then I realized I couldn't socialize. I was already more eccentric and unusual than most people, so now I couldn't ever go out, couldn't enjoy anyone. So I did the best I could to integrate my life, and I enjoy chocolate, I enjoy candy. However, drinking the alkaline water is a great balance. So you get on the biomat. I'm not saying go junk yourself up and then just drink water and get on the biomat. Each of us has to make a transition to healthier habits in a way that's less stressful. I have friends who I call food police. They make everyone around them so exhausted and stressed because they're always pointing out what's wrong. The stress causes more problem.
More acid than that?
Yes, the stress causes more problem than the piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay? So Victor, would you advance that? So because we're still eating things that are not raw, pure, drinking the alkaline water is a tool. And again, why do we need this? Because of stress, pollution, processed foods, the modern age, and the alkaline water is a powerful antioxidant. It's going to create alkaline, it's detoxifying and hydrating. So now we're going to pause for a minute, and I want to share something that I remember from many of my years of training. It was a quote attributed to Einstein, and someone asked him, "At what point do you think your theory of relativity will be accepted?" And his answer was, "When any mother can explain it to her child." So what that brings us to is simplicity. How are you going to talk about the water in a way that's simple enough for anyone to understand it? So where would we begin? So I'd like some audience participation. Let's hear from you. What would you say that's so simple that any mother could then explain it to her child? Because we can talk about free radicals, and we can talk about pH, and we can talk about a lot of the science that I do want all of you to commit to understand. But what would be a few things you could begin with?
Wouldn't you have to look for their why again?
You could look for their why.
Because if it's like aging, well, I know when we were in the dermatology office, I used to work in dermatology, you could say smoking would, kill you. Oh yeah, I think I'm smoking, but it causes wrinkles? Maybe I'm smoking.
Okay.
So you have to look for the why, the motivation.
Okay, so what she's saying, which is very valuable, you want to come up here, is that you have to look for their why. If they're concerned about aging or age spots, then you can play on that part of the benefit. So I have a woman who bought a water unit about 2 months ago, and she bought it because she'd been using powerful antioxidants, and they were costing her almost $70 a month, and she tried the alkaline water without the antioxidants, and the age spots went away. So that was her testimonial. So again, as this woman just said, know their why. If they're interested, if they're Victor's age, we can't really focus as much on anti-aging, right? So if you're getting closer to my age, or many of us here, then anti-aging is important. And you want to focus on that. Okay, what else would be a simple way? So, Joyce?
This is my favorite one. Because of our microclusters, you can drink our water and you don't get the glug.
Okay, Joyce, come on up here. Joyce, come up here. Come on up here for a minute. Now, what Joyce said is very significant. Did you hear what she said? She talked about the microclusters. So, Victor, could you see if you can find the slide on microclusters? It's somewhere in there. When I first met with Mr. Kim, and I asked him when we were going to begin this program, I said, well, Kelvin, who should they go to? Would it be you in the office, or Raymond, or who, to get the answers about how this works? And he looked at me and said, well, you, Ellen. I said, me, I better get educated on this. And Kelvin began giving me an education, and what he said was one of the most important things for you to begin with is what Joyce just said, microcluster. Okay, so the water is microcluster. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And we're going to get it down to being simple. What does that mean? Think about what water does. It hydrates. Most people are dehydrated. They're waking up during the night with dry mouth, which lets you know already they're way dehydrated if that happens. When you drink the alkaline water, because it's microclustered, it penetrates the cells better, and therefore it hydrates you better, and it's easier to drink. So, Joyce, what did you say?
When you drink normal water, you drink a glass all at once. When you get up, your belly goes wonk, wonk. And when you drink our water, it doesn't. And so I like that it's visceral and kinesthetic, and everybody gets that.
Yeah, that's really good. So, thank you. You want to give them something that they can feel. I went to a show with the Biomat about 2 months ago, and I'm very sensitive to fluorescent light. I'm very sensitive to air conditioning. I live in Hawaii. I don't have air conditioning. I don't need it. And by the second day of the show, I was feeling very sick. So aside from getting on the Biomat, I started drinking as many glasses as I could of the alkaline water. Within 4 hours, the stomach ache was gone, the fatigue was gone. So what Joyce just pointed out, if people will taste it and drink it, they will begin, for most of them, to see a positive benefit. Okay? Now, occasionally someone is so toxic, similar to the biomat, that they'll go through some detoxing before they'll see the positive. So you want to remember that. But if we're making it simple, this is the beginning of your education. Ionized water is microclustered. Ionization breaks clusters of water molecules into smaller microclusters, reducing the size from 11 to 16 molecules in standard water to just 5 to 6. So the smaller molecules penetrate the cell walls more quickly. Now, could you explain that to a child?
Yeah.
Maybe not easily. But what Joyce said was, it's good to drink water, you get more hydrated, you have more energy, and you don't have that heavy feeling in your stomach when you have that. That you could explain to a child. Hydration is important. That you could explain. So you're looking for short, succinct, powerful sentences. So let me hear anyone else. I want you now to access your creativity, because you're going to have access to this and you can study all you want. But I want to hear from you how you would language this. Go ahead.
Well, most everybody knows about a swimming pool or a hot tub, or they can relate to that. And even as a child, they could see their mom or dad needing to check the water, the pH balance of the water in the hot tub or swimming pool. And why are we checking the pH of the water? Is because if it gets too acid, all the crap grows. All the bad stuff grows, and you don't want to be swimming in a pool that is too acid. You want to make it alkaline. Well, the body is the same way. You got a lot of crap in the body, be it in the air conditioning or whatever. So by you drinking the alkaline water, you're doing the same thing. So you correct the swimming pool or hot tub. Well, correct your body in the same way and get a pH balance.
Okay. Very good. So that's what we're looking for, and that's why we'll have more conference calls. Now, Victor, would you put the slide up, please, about the water rental? And now we're going to come to what I consider is one of the most important parts of why we're here today, about the water. So people have now spent maybe $1,500, $1,700 for the Biomat Pro set. And now we're going to encourage them to use both products together. Now, some people can easily make a $3,000 sale. That's as easy for them as making a $1,700 sale. Some people it's not. And in today's economy, Richway has now created a program so that this water unit is affordable for everyone. So, Victor, can you join me here and talk about this? Because that's your area. You have been working with this and designing this. So tell us what you've been hearing from distributors. Tell us how we can overcome any concerns people have about how expensive it is. Or whatever you want to say, Victor.
Well, definitely the water unit is, you know, it's $1,500. So sometimes it's not really affordable for some people. So we have a way of resolving that. So if you have a customer and you're telling them all about the effects of this water unit and they're really getting into it, and they like it, and then they give you the excuse, well, this next month I don't think I can do it. Well, now you can tell them about this, and then how can they repeat that? So this is a really good program because you've got two options. One is the rental, and then one is the lease to own. The lease to own is where they put $300 down, and then they make 30 monthly installments of about $40. It's actually $39.95. And after they make all those installments, they'll own the product. Now, what's great about this is that they own the product. Now, if they cannot afford that, they can always do the rental. The rental is a little bit different. There is the $80 down payment. It's actually $79.95. And then you got 36 monthly installments of $35.95. So you're looking about a little different of you know, how much they're paying and how much. But the thing is, they don't own the product. So if they want to own the product, upon finishing their installments, they can do a $300 down. Anything put that $300 down, they own it. Now, the cool thing about this lease program is, let's say you're a gold, and if you're a gold, then how much you're earning a month for the residual income? Can someone tell me that?
$10.
$10, yeah. So let's say on the way, about 2 months down the road, you become an emerald. Now what? Actually, those residual income that you have will be paying you $15 on that. So you wouldn't be getting the percentage on the gold executive, but you'll be getting the emerald. And what's even better is that, let's say a couple months down the road and you got to the diamond position. Then you just hit the jackpot, right? So $20 per month, then you would get about the compensation about 50% of the product. So if you look at all the percentage, then it really pays off. So all together, this water program is designed to help cater those individuals that cannot pay a lump sum that moment, and then they can have a little bit more time. And then also, another addition, but great thing about it is that during the time of the rental or the lease, they'll be under the warranty. So you know how usually the water unit has a 1-year warranty, but with this great compensation plan and rental and lease program that we have, they'll be eligible to have the warranty throughout the whole time that they own it. They have the unit. So let's say through their 25th installment, something goes wrong. We will have that shipped free of charge. We'll pay for the shipping for them to have it sent to our headquarters, and then we'll fix it in a timely fashion, and then we ship it back out. And if we can't, we'll replace it. So all together, this is a great program to get involved in if the person that you are trying to sell the unit does not want to pay the $1,500. Do you guys have any questions about this? Yes.
What I want to know is what is the mechanism for, now suppose somebody leases a machine and they love it so much that down the road, like a couple months later, they say, well, a few friends of mine want the machine, but I want to be able to sell it to them. What do we do at that point with that client who's now leasing from us? Do we turn them into a distributor or?
Why not?
Well, the thing is, they must be. The thing is, we have they have to be a goal to show that they're committed to selling the product. And actually, if their friends wanted to, they can go to you, and then you can get them on the lease and rental program. So.
Yeah. If I could just say, remember how we began. A lot of this program was conceived equally to make it affordable, but for who? You. This was conceived for you who've been with Richway, gold, emerald, and diamond, to have an assurance of residual income. If I could just get one sentence that you would remember in your heart. Richway cares enough about me that they've spent a lot of time creating a program where I can have ongoing residual income. So I'm encouraging you, please, if you don't have one for yourself and you're a diamond, go home and enroll, lease it. Look, you'll get $20 a month back. You're going to get $20 a month, so instead of it costing you $40. And I think that when you find people who bought it and then they want to turn on other people, yes, it's a sale for you, but it's a good way for you to introduce them to Richway. And let them know. I have a distributor who just began. When he heard that only golds could do this, he said, what should I do? I said, what do you think you should do? How quick are you going to get to gold? He said, 30 days. I said, okay, we'll do it. So we worked together, and in 30 days he got to gold so he could begin selling. So you want to work with your distributors to get them to gold, emerald, and diamond. So remember, this program is an incentive for you distributors. This is from Richway for you. So again, I think if we could just give Calvin and Gina another thank you.
Yes.
If somebody is leasing and they choose for some crazy reason to not lease for more than 3 years, what is the policy around ending the contract?
Well, that's a very good question. And when a person says that's a good question, that means that maybe they don't have the answer. Well, the thing is, we try our best, and it's important as a distributor to find good clients that would adhere to this program. Now, things can go wrong, and that's why we understand that. And we have so all the burdens actually wouldn't be on the client, but would be on the distributor. So as a distributor, you have a lot of responsibilities when you're choosing your clients. You want to pick and choose clients that you think would be responsible and can pay up for the compensation, every down payment for each month. And we have a policy where if you have 5 that are in default, then you cannot have any person renting or leasing from you. So it's all designed so that you have, this is all about the networking, like we said, and we have to find good people, and we also have their social security now, just to follow up, and if they don't make that payment, then we'll follow them.
What if you have a person who rents it, and then they decide after a couple months that they want to buy it because they want to become a distributor?
That's a very good question. That way they just call in. They call in and we can set them up and have them pay the whole sum that they own, and they own the product. And then that goes from there. But there's always special circumstance, so we always welcome your clients to call us directly, and any of our staff can help arrange something special. Like, for example, if they want to get on a program but they don't have enough, we can make exceptions to a certain extent, of course.
If you look on, Stacy just found this on the back, the terms and conditions, it gives a refund policy. 1 to 7 days from delivery, no cancellation charge, 100% refund, up to 3% shipping deduction, and then 8 to 30 days from date of delivery, cancellation charge of deposit and 1 month rental, and then 2 to 36 months.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff there, yeah. I wrote some of it. Yeah. Yes.
Question regarding that 2.5 year to 3 year. How's that going to work with the compensation plan? You're trying to build your left side and your right side.
Oh, so this program is separate from all that. So there's no commission for this. The commission strictly comes from this residual income that we give out. Besides that, it's separate from all the placements, so there wouldn't be any placements involved in this. This is a direct thing. And the other thing I also forgot to mention is that we also have a filter discount program. How many of you guys have heard of that? Yeah, the filter discount program is a really great program because it allows people, people forget to change their filter, and the filter is one of the essential components of the water system. You want to have a great filter so that it gets out all the chlorine and the gunk. And it's recommended at every 2,500 gallons, 6 months, then you change that. So what we designed is a 3-year program where they sign up, and we charge them every time we ship out, and they'll be saving $35 actually. So the water filter usually costs $120. And so what we do is we charge them $100, that's a $20 savings, plus a free shipping. So then altogether they'll be saving $35 each time, but they just have to be committed to the 3-year term.
Victor, today our focus was more on how you could understand the program, the water rental, if you haven't already read about it. Help yourself get a big enough why. Know that we have a lot of tools. And tomorrow on the program, there's a presentation with Suzanne. If you look in your manual on page 24, there is information about the definition of pH. Okay, pH stands for potential hydrogen, and there's also a beautiful page on ORP. And the reason we did not cover that today, Suzanne is going to show you the model. She's going to give you a demonstration of how to measure the pH and go over ORP. So that is coming for you tomorrow. So today was more to focus on what we have for a rental program and how you can get enthusiastic about it. But tomorrow we'll go more into the how.
That's amazing that you're able to do that. But the other question, I was wondering, can we use some of those, marketing like that, graphics that was amazing. Can we use some of those for our advertising, or are they just to your company, or?
Well, the entire PowerPoint has been transferred into a PDF file. So you can show it to anyone. We are currently maybe about 4 weeks away from having some beautiful new brochures. And the same woman who designed these graphics, Daniela, is designing our new brochures. So within 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to have some beautiful new brochures to give to people. Now it's getting you familiar with the program, getting you to understand it, because you want to be able to explain it to a customer. So you're going to have a lot of new materials. But yes, you can take the PDF and you can share it.
Yeah, but can we put it in like a newspaper or marketing pieces?
Well, right now you can't cut and paste it because it's a PDF file. So if you email me, we'll see what we can do to get you some, ads and make it more effective for you. Yeah? Yes. Okay. Anything else? Yes?
Can I just make a synopsis?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? In analyzing this, all you numbers crunchers out there, when you actually put a pencil to it and realize how generous this is from a client perspective and a distributor perspective, it's going to blow your mind. Just to break it down real quickly for you, somebody on that rental program is actually paying like $1.50 less than if they purchased it outright and they're getting free shipping. So keep that in mind if they rented it. So these are selling points for you. From a distributor perspective, although it does not live in the binary, if you're a diamond, you're making twice the commission on it. If you sold it as a diamond, you'd be getting $300. You're going to get more than that, almost double that.
And that's not product certificates where you have to purchase more rigid products. It's solid checks that you can, buy food, other things.
And you will not get product certificates. It does not live in the binary. Okay, so it is 2 separate programs. So put a pencil to it and you'll see how generous it is.
Yes.
Is it just possible to get a copy of the PowerPoint itself, or is it no version?
So what Ellen has decided is she's going to put up a PDF file where we can download it, and I think we're going to maybe upload that on our website.
Yeah.
And so then that will be available so that you can download it as a PDF file.
No, I don't want a PDF.
Yeah, okay. Here's the answer to that question.
Yes.
The answer is, if it's in a PowerPoint and it circulates around, anybody can cut and paste and steal our material. And we don't want that. We want this material unique to Ridgeway. So we don't want our material circulating around out to competitors who can cut and paste and take a lot of our graphics and use them. So the reason you're getting it as a PDF, it's part of the protection for you. You want to see Kangen out with our material in 6 months? No, you don't. So I know it would be nice if you had it as a PowerPoint, but at this point, it will be a PDF. So I hope that makes you happy. I can't at the moment give it to you as a PowerPoint.
For the marketing, what did you say? It's $40 a month for the customer?
Yes.
So when you figure what people are spending in bottled water,
Yes, it's amazing.
Down and then
Yes.
all the biodegradable stuff. Just,
Is there drinking trash?
Yes.
Well, the
They
trash.
pay for the trash.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you. Why don't we thank them for putting it together?